Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my overview of Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop. Oh my god, the things I say for this channel. Anyway, for those that's not across it, I do overviews on this channel. I have a look at the first 2 hours of a game because it's the Steam refund window. Steam reckons you can make up your mind about whether you want to keep a game or not in that time, and broadly speaking, as a rule, I agree. And say 20 hours in, you're probably not going to change your mind about how you felt 2 hours in. So it's a short, punchy video, broad strokes info, keep it around 10 minutes and you can make up your mind on your own. So I just randomly got this on a whim. I saw it on Steam. This is not really the best time of year to be releasing games. You're going up against sales and all that. I don't need to lecture on that. So I wasn't really expecting anything kind of sneaking out at this point. And boy, I am glad I picked it up because this is one of the better games that I've played this year. It's very clever. Broadly speaking, you're working at a sort of like pit stop mechanic shop in space, and you've got these ships dropping by in a kind of run-based, sort of roguelike, but, you know, not quite. Bit closer to like a narrative run-based time loop thing. I don't want to compare it to something like Outer Wilds because it's a lot different, but the idea that you are kind of failing your runs and starting again, and especially like the early starts of the run, fairly rigid. You're getting some repeat customers, some repeat events, that sort of stuff. So it's not truly what I would call roguelike, but it has this sort of hybrid because it clearly wants to tell a story. But ultimately you clock in and it is all very high fidelity, fiddly, touching, pulling levers. That's the whole core of this game. So even like clocking in for the day, you have to put your punch card in the machine and pull the lever, and I'm using my hands right now. It will start a timer. You'll be able to call in a customer, and it will generally, at this point in time, it gives you two choices, but I'm sure that's going to change. And you choose which ship to land. There'll be a printout telling you what you need to fix, and there'll be different like compartments on the ship. You can sort of lift it up and down to reach the hard to reach places, and then you have to fix all the stuff. Now, it has a very colorful and well realized, very wonderful manual in the game, and that's a big part of the loop. So if you've played something like Keep Talking, Nobody Explodes, it's like that. There's a lot of digging through the manual to understand how it works and how to fix X problem. That might sound dry and unpleasant, you know, divorced from the gameplay and the visuals, but it's actually really fun. So you have to do kind of rudimentary testing and figure out what's wrong with the system, poking and prodding it. I mean, to throw a few examples, because I don't necessarily want to spoil it, I think this is excellent and people should pick it up if they find this sort of fiddly problem solving to be fun. I don't know, there's like an identifier on the ship. Some of these things are pretty contrived, but who really cares? Gameplay is king, that's all that really matters. And it's essentially a photograph machine that punches out Polaroids to, I don't know, identify the driver, who cares? So, because you're standing in front of it and you're this dopey Fox Wilbur looking dude, you just rip the handle on that and it will punch out the photo, and you can kind of test and adjust and analyze against the photo. One of the first ones that I had with this machine was, it was just white. It was just blown out white. So you go into the manual and each machine will have a little sort of symbol that points to the chapter of the book for quick reference. So it'll be like a circle with a dot in the middle. That'll be one of the chapters, and it will say like 3 underneath it. So go to part 3, you know, subpart 3 of that chapter, and lo and behold, you'll find the entire section on the camera mechanism. And then so you scroll through that and have a look, and it would seem that for this error, it's probably a flash related problem. So to get at the flash, you need to open up the sort of side compartment or panel. You've got a handy little toolbox that you can pull down, so you pull out the screwdriver, but you get all sorts of like shifter spanners and that, and you interact with that. You just unscrew the little knobs, open up the panel, pull it open. Everything has to be touched and prodded and swiped. And I think in this particular situation, the flash was either broken or it was exposed, like it wasn't put away, so there might be parts of the mechanism not working. But in any case, you know, you can restore it, you can pop it out, you can pull it out altogether, and you've got like a sort of little tool parts shop within your base. So you can go over there and say buy a new flash and put that back in. But we've had all sorts of other interesting issues, because once you've fixed that, I mean, you take the photo, maybe it's out of focus. And the game also gives you an idea of how to refocus that camera, how many pips you have to turn it, depending on whether it's the foreground or the background in focus. If it's light or dark, you have different issues. I've had times where it wouldn't even fire off and take a photo, and it turns out that the ink cartridge needed refilling, so I had to go and check that. But there is also wiring mechanisms. There's all sorts of other more complex problems that were going to emerge. And that's only one of the little systems. You know, one of the first things they teach you is how to refuel. And so there'll be like pop-outs to get the canisters to expose themselves. There'll be release mechanisms to detach them. You'll have to use like a shifter to unscrew it and pull them out, and then you'd have to take them to a fuel station inside your base. You have to get the perfect pour as well, otherwise you'll damage it. Just before I finished recording this, I came across a different fuel system I'd never seen before, and I don't know if it's actually even in the manual, but I had enough of that jump-off knowledge to figure it out myself, and it would seem it's got a different fuel system. You can choose what sort of fuel you put into the canister, which I got wrong, and I basically broke the canister and had to pay for it. It's very tricky and very difficult in a fun way. This is the one thing I'm a little standoffish about. It's very much going for an edgy humor that, I appreciate it for being different, to be honest. I'm so sick of bloody Avengers snarky, Joss Whedon writing shit humor that everything has to be these days. This is going much more for some sort of vulgar, I don't know, Ren and Stimpy come Rick and Morty sort of thing. So again, it makes my eyes roll a bit how vulgar it goes. I think one actually made me giggle was where the dude running the pit stop came up to me and says, "Hey, one of your customers told me to eat shit and die, and I don't really want to eat shit and die, so can we sort of keep that to a minimum?" I'm like, okay, right, I get what you're doing, cool. But humor's exactly that. It's hit and miss, right? And this is better than most, to be honest, and at least it's unusual. But it's tied into this sort of story that's unfolding. If you don't pay the rent by the end of X couple of days, you basically get killed. But you go to limbo, and there's a devil demon dude that will send you back to the start, right? So there's sort of meta layers to it. But at the moment, I'm gearing up to pay the rent actually. But I've done a couple of runs where it sent me back because it'll essentially put you up against a ship that has like 10 things wrong with it that you can't physically fix because you don't have the machines installed, because you can upgrade your base and all that. So it's doing this weird thing where it's not really letting me off the leash and just being a true roguelike. It is kind of keeping me on a narrow track. It's got the illusion of a roguelike, at least in the early going. I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but it does sort of lean into one of the things I don't like about roguelites in general, which is where they kind of make it impossible for you to clock a run or beat a run without X upgrades, right? Like, it's all a bit of a, you have to grind, you have to earn the right to beat the game sort of thing, and it feels like it's doing this through a different kind of lens. It's not terrible or anything like that, but I don't know, even if you're doing it for gags or for well-intentioned, putting a ship in front of a newbie that has a billion things wrong with it that they can't fix and their run is guaranteed to brick, I don't know if that's going to win you a lot of good favor with people coming into this game that are interested in that sort of genre. Anyway, there seems to be sort of meta progressions. There's a dude hiding in my fridge downstairs underneath my base because humor. And so you can unlock, I've unlocked a thing that can extend the length of the day for the shift that I'm on. So I feel like I'm going to have to just kind of grind and lean into the meta roguelite a bit to get a few more multipliers in my base to get past it. But issues with that roguelitification notwithstanding, the cool little solving of problems is really interesting and fun. I've enjoyed it immensely. And again, it's one of those things. I've given examples, but I don't even really want to talk about too many of them either, because in a way that gives away the meat of the game. Anyway, check it out. It's really cool. It's quite rewarding, and it doesn't seem to patch on the head too much either. So I'm enjoying it being a little bit more tricky. Such a pleasant surprise. Had no idea what I was getting into, and I'm glad I took the jump. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.